Welcome to Starbound Valor HFY. Subscribe now and dive into daily epic sci-fi adventures where humanity always rises. In the cold silence of deep space, the stars looked peaceful. But peace was a lie. A strange signal had just appeared, breaking 80 years of silence from the edge of a black hole known as the Vortex Abyss. It was a place where even light disappeared, a region no ship had ever returned from. The Galactic Federation called it the Dead Zone. Nothing escaped from there, until today. The signal was weak at first, a small flicker in the data streams, but then it grew stronger. At the Federation's listening post on Station Venera 9, alarms echoed through the corridors. Technicians ran to their consoles, eyes wide with disbelief. "It's coming from inside the black hole," one of them whispered. "That's impossible," said another, but the data didn't lie. The signal carried a ship identification code, Human Vessel Odyssey. The same ship that vanished 80 years ago during the Human-Zarn War. Humans had disappeared into the abyss, their entire fleet lost. Everyone believed they were gone forever. But now, something was calling back from the darkness. The Federation sent a probe first. It captured blurry images of a large object slowly emerging from the black hole's event horizon. It looked broken, like it had been torn apart and glued back together. As the object came closer, its metallic surface reflected no light, only shadows. The scanners confirmed it. This was indeed the Odyssey. The impossible had happened. A ship had returned from the Dead Zone. Federation Command immediately dispatched 3 recovery ships and a science vessel to investigate. News spread across the galaxy within hours. Some called it a miracle, others a warning. But no one could ignore it. Something unnatural was unfolding at the edge of known space. When the Federation ships reached the black hole perimeter, the Odyssey was just floating there, silent and dark. Its engines were dead. No communication. No response. The captain of the recovery team, Commander Arlen Voss, looked at the drifting vessel on his screen and whispered, "How can it be whole? The gravity should have torn it apart." The Odyssey's hull was burned, twisted, and covered with strange black patterns, like veins pulsing faintly with light. As the boarding team approached, the ship's lights flickered once, then died again. No one inside answered the hail. The crew decided to enter. They moved through the dark corridors with flashlights, the beams cutting through thick dust and frozen air. It felt less like exploring a ship and more like walking inside a tomb. The walls seemed to hum softly, as if the metal was breathing. One of the soldiers said, "Sir, I swear the ship's alive." The commander ignored him, but his hands were shaking. In the command deck, they found the crew. Dozens of human bodies, perfectly preserved, as if frozen in time. No decay, no damage. Their faces looked peaceful, too peaceful. Then, in the captain's chair, they found movement. A man, alive. Weak, but breathing. His uniform was shredded, his hair silver white, though his records said he was only 35 when he vanished. The team medic scanned him and gasped. "He's human, but his cells are changing." The man slowly opened his eyes. They glowed faintly, reflecting the dim light of the torches. "Captain Elias Ward," one officer read from the patch on his chest. The man looked at them with a calm, distant expression. Then he spoke, voice cracked and dry, "We saw the other side." His words echoed in the dead ship. The team exchanged nervous looks. "Captain, where's your crew?" "What happened?" the commander asked. Ward smiled faintly. "They're still there, inside." Nobody understood what he meant. Before they could ask more, the ship trembled slightly, as if something deep within it was moving. Back on the Federation flagship, scientists began to analyze the data from the Odyssey. The readings were unlike anything they had seen. Time distortions, radiation signatures that defied physics, and energy patterns that didn't belong to this universe. The black hole itself was changing, too. Its event horizon pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. Commander Voss stood at the observation window, staring at it. "It's reacting to us," he muttered. "Or to the ship." Then the signal came again, not from the Odyssey this time, but from the black hole itself. It was the same frequency, but now it carried words. A human voice whispered through the static, "We are not alone in the dark." The sound made everyone freeze. The black hole began to glow faintly at its edge, as if something inside was pushing to escape. Captain Ward was transferred to the medical bay. The doctors tried to stabilize him, but strange readings kept appearing on the monitors. His heart rate was normal 1 second and doubled the next. His blood contained microscopic lights, moving like stars. When one doctor asked what happened inside the black hole, Ward's voice trembled. "We were pulled in," he said. "There was no pain, no time. Just light and voices. The darkness isn't empty. It's alive." The lights flickered again across the ship. Every screen flashed the same message: they saw US. Panic spread across the crew. Was it a glitch? Or was the black hole speaking? Commander Voss ordered the Odyssey sealed and quarantined, but deep down, everyone felt it, the unease, the fear that something had crossed over with the ship. The stars outside seemed dimmer now, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. As the commander looked at the black hole one last time, he noticed something strange. The darkness around it was moving, twisting, like a shape trying to emerge. He whispered to himself, "They said nothing escapes a black hole." Then, softly, almost as if answering him, the radio crackled. A voice, human and ancient, whispered, "Nothing, except us." The Federation flagship Vanguard remained in silent orbit around the black hole known as the Vortex Abyss. The mysterious human ship Odyssey floated beside it, dark and wounded but impossibly alive. No one could explain how a vessel lost 80 years ago had returned whole. Inside the medical bay, Captain Elias Ward lay still under dim lights. Machines hummed around him, but his vital signs flickered between normal and unreadable. His body looked human, but the scanners disagreed. His blood glowed faintly under the microscope, as if filled with stars. The chief medical officer, Dr. Renhavek, leaned closer to the monitor. "He's not dying," she whispered. "He's adapting." Commander Arlen Voss stood beside her, watching through the glass. "Keep him sedated. We need answers before he wakes." But before the doctor could respond, Ward's eyes opened. The same faint silver glow returned, brightening for a second, then fading. "Where am I?" he whispered, his voice rough but calm. "You're safe," said Voss. "You're on a Federation ship. You've been gone a long time, Captain Ward." Ward looked at him for a moment, then smiled weakly. "Not long enough." Meanwhile, on the Odyssey, the recovery team continued exploring its empty halls. The atmosphere felt colder now. The walls were covered with black, vein-like lines, pulsing with faint light, as if the ship had a heartbeat. Every step echoed like a whisper. Lieutenant Maradane led a small squad to the lower deck, searching for the power core. "It's like the ship's growing these patterns," one soldier said. "Almost organic." Dane touched the strange surface. It was warm. "It's not metal anymore," she said quietly. "It's something else." Then, deep inside the corridor, they heard a sound. A faint humming, rhythmic, almost like a chant. They followed it until they reached a sealed door marked Core Access. The sound was coming from behind it. Dane ordered the door open. The metal parted with a groan, and light spilled out, soft, golden, and alive. Inside, the core room pulsed like a heart. The engine wasn't running on plasma anymore. It was running on something unknown, something that looked alive. "Sir, you need to see this," Dane reported over the comms. "The ship, it's not just a machine anymore." Back on Vanguard, Captain Ward was moved to the interrogation chamber. Commander Voss wanted answers. "Captain," he began, 80 years ago, the Odyssey disappeared inside the Vortex Abyss. No ship has ever returned from a black hole. How did you survive?" Ward looked distant, eyes fixed on the dark window. "We didn't survive," he said softly. "We changed." Voss frowned. "What do you mean by changed?" Ward turned to him slowly. The black hole isn't a void, Commander. It's a passage. On the other side, there's light. Something vast, alive, and aware. The room went silent. Voss leaned forward. Are you saying there's life inside the singularity? Ward nodded. Not life as we know it. It's something older. It spoke to us. It showed us what we are. It said we were never supposed to leave. The lights flickered for a moment, then steadied. Ward smiled faintly. It knows you're watching, he said. Dr. Havoc, monitoring from the control room, whispered, Who knows, Captain? Ward's voice deepened slightly, echoing strangely. The one that sleeps inside the dark. The monitors around him suddenly spiked with static. The ship's internal comms crackled to life, broadcasting Ward's own voice from every speaker, only this version was whispering words no one understood. It wasn't any known language, yet everyone who heard it felt the same chill in their chest. The commander ordered communications cut, but the voice continued for several seconds before fading out with a low hum. What the hell was that? One technician asked. No one answered. At the same time, Lieutenant Dane and her team on the Odyssey were struggling to shut down the glowing core. Its reading is biological, she said, like it's alive and aware of us. The ship began to hum louder, vibrations shaking the floor. Dane shouted, Fall back. But the moment she turned, a burst of light shot out from the core and passed through her body. She froze in place. Her helmet camera showed her eyes glowing the same faint silver as Ward's. Then her voice came through the comms, calm, distant, and cold. It sees you. The transmission cut out. When the team tried to reach her again, all they heard was static and faint whispering. Commander Voss ordered all boarding parties to evaluate immediately. The Odyssey went silent once again, drifting like a ghost. On board Vanguard, the scientists analyzed the strange pulse detected from the ship. It matched no known energy form. It wasn't radiation, wasn't heat, it was information. A living signal. One scientist said, It's communicating. Voss stared at the readings and muttered, With who? The scientist swallowed hard. Maybe, with us. Captain Ward was now restrained in his bed, but his vital signs kept changing. His heartbeat synced perfectly with the pulses from the Odyssey. Dr. Havoc noticed and whispered, He's connected to the ship. Suddenly, Ward opened his eyes again. His voice was different now, calmer, deeper. You should have left us there, he said. Voss asked, Who are you talking about? Ward turned his head toward the commander. All of us. Everyone who touched the light. We belong to it now. The temperature in the room dropped suddenly. The lights dimmed again, and a deep vibration rolled through the ship. Outside the window, the black hole began to shift. Its surface rippled like water. For the first time in recorded history, the vortex abyss emitted light. A faint blue ring appeared around it, rotating slowly. The crew watched in stunned silence as the black hole's shape changed, forming a spiral that looked almost like an eye opening. Ward smiled weakly. It's awake, he said. The commander whispered, What's awake? Ward looked straight at him, his glowing eyes reflecting the blue light from the window. The abyss, he answered. And it remembers us. The alarms blared across the Vanguard. Sensors detected gravitational fluctuations far beyond safety limits. Something's coming out, shouted a technician. Commander Voss stared at the screen as a massive shadow formed at the edge of the black hole. It was not a ship. It was not anything they could identify. The dark mass pulsed once, and the sensors went dead. In the silence that followed, Ward whispered the same haunting words he had spoken before, We saw the other side. Then his heart monitor went flat, but his eyes remained open, glowing faintly. The shadow from the abyss kept growing. Something was following the Odyssey out. The medical bay was silent except for the slow, steady beeping of machines. Captain Elias Ward lay motionless, eyes open, the faint silver glow still shining from his pupils. His heartbeat had stopped 20 minutes ago, yet his brain activity remained active, pulsing in perfect rhythm with the strange signals coming from the black hole. Dr. Renhavik stood by his bedside, whispering to Commander Arlen Voss, "He's dead, but his mind isn't. Something's keeping him connected." Voss frowned, watching the monitor flicker with unfamiliar symbols that kept appearing across the screen. "Translate them," he ordered. The doctor shook her head. "We can't. It's not a language we know." Behind the glass, technicians worked frantically to decode the strange data patterns being transmitted from the Odyssey and Ward's body at the same time. The readings were identical. Somehow, the ship and the man were still one. The commander decided to move Ward to the interrogation room. If his mind was still active, they had to reach him. A neural interface was attached to his temples, connecting his brain activity to a holographic projection. Within seconds, a glowing figure appeared in the center of the room, an image of Ward, standing upright, looking calm, too calm. His voice echoed softly, "Commander Voss, you shouldn't have come here." Voss folded his arms. "You're not real. You're a recording." The projection smiled faintly. "I am what's left of Elias Ward, but I am more than him now. The abyss doesn't forget its children." The temperature in the room dropped slightly. The holographic lights flickered. Voss took a step closer. "What happened to your ship, Captain? What happened to your crew?" The hologram tilted its head, eyes glowing brighter. "We reached the event horizon. We thought it was the end. But beyond the darkness, there was light, a sea of thoughts, endless and alive. It called to us. It showed us the truth." Dr. Havok watched the reading spike. "His brainwaves are climbing beyond human levels," she whispered. The hologram continued speaking. "We saw what the universe really is, Commander. It's not cold, not empty. It's aware. Everything that falls into the dark becomes part of it. We were absorbed, reshaped, reborn." The commander slammed his hand on the console. "Stop with the riddles, Ward. Did something follow you out?" The hologram smiled again, this time wider. "It didn't follow us. It sent us back." The lights in the room blinked rapidly, then stabilized. "To do what?" Voss asked. Ward's face darkened. "To prepare the galaxy for what's coming." Before anyone could react, the ship's alarms blared. The communication officer's voice echoed through the intercom, "Commander, gravitational waves are spiking again. The black hole's mass is shifting, it's forming a secondary field." Voss turned toward the door. "Get us out of here." But the hologram of Ward spoke again, louder now. "You can't run. The abyss is awake." The holographic image flickered and vanished, but the sound of whispering filled the room. Words in no known tongue crawled through the speakers, making everyone freeze. The whispering grew louder, then stopped abruptly. Silence. Dr. Havok looked down at the heart monitor. It had started again. Ward's real body was breathing. Voss rushed back to the medical bed. Ward opened his eyes slowly, silver light brighter than before. "Captain," Voss said carefully, "are you back with us?" Ward looked at him and smiled faintly. "You never left," he whispered. "You just couldn't see." "See what?" the commander asked. Ward sat up, though his muscles shouldn't have been capable of moving. "The truth, Commander. The black hole isn't a prison. It's a door. And you opened it." Voss shook his head. "We didn't open anything." Ward's expression changed. "Yes, you did. When you came for us. When you touched the ship. It marked you." The commander froze. "Marked?" Ward nodded slowly. "It knows you now. It's inside your systems, your data, your minds." As if to prove his words, every screen on the ship flickered. The Federation emblem turned into static, replaced by a single glowing symbol, an eye surrounded by spirals. It pulsed in rhythm with Ward's heartbeat. "What the hell is that?" a technician shouted from the control room. Dr. Havoc whispered, "It's the same pattern we found in the Odyssey's core." Ward stood up from the bed. The restraints snapped off like paper. "You can't fight it," he said softly. "It's already begun." Commander Voss drew his sidearm. "Stay where you are, Captain." Ward raised his hand slowly. "You don't understand, Commander. The abyss doesn't destroy. It transforms." "Into what?" Voss demanded. Ward took a slow breath. "Into what we were meant to be." His eyes flared brighter, and the lights in the room burst, showering sparks. A deep vibration rolled through the ship again, strong enough to rattle the hull. Outside, the black hole's faint blue ring had turned into a spiral of light, twisting like a storm. The communications officer's voice came through the intercom, panicked. "Sir, the Odyssey is powering up. We didn't activate it." Dr. Havoc turned to Ward. "What is it doing?" Ward closed his eyes, whispering, "Calling home." The holographic systems flickered again, showing quick flashes of the Odyssey's interior. The black veins that once covered its walls were now glowing, expanding, spreading like roots through the hull. The entire ship began to hum with a low, rhythmic pulse, the same frequency as Ward's heartbeat. Then, through the static of the ship's intercom, a new voice emerged, cold, mechanical, layered with thousands of echoes. "The travelers have returned. The seed awakens." The lights dimmed again. Power across the Vanguard began to fail, one section after another. "Cut power to the Odyssey. Now!" Voss shouted. But it was too late. The black hole flared once more, sending a pulse of light that struck both ships. Every person aboard felt it, not as a force, but as a thought, a whisper in their minds. "Join us." Crew members screamed as their vision filled with flashing images, stars collapsing, galaxies folding, and something vast watching from the center of it all. The lights returned, but nothing felt normal anymore. Ward was gone from the bed. His restraints lay open, and the door stood wide. Voss stared into the empty corridor. "Find him," he ordered, his voice shaking. But before anyone moved, the ship's AI spoke for the first time in hours. "Captain Elias Ward has left the vessel." "Left? How?" Havoc asked. The AI's tone was emotionless. "He is aboard the Odyssey." The commander turned toward the observation window, and his blood ran cold. The Odyssey's engines were glowing with impossible light, a burning white halo that bent the stars around it. Then, across the comms, Ward's voice echoed one last time, soft but clear. "We saw the other side, Commander. Now, it's your turn." A surge of energy burst from the Odyssey, washing over the Vanguard like a wave. The instruments went dead. The crew screamed as the ship's systems shut down one by one. Through the window, the black hole expanded, glowing brighter, alive and breathing. And as the light consumed everything, one final message appeared across every screen: "The abyss remembers." Then came silence. When the lights came back on aboard the Vanguard, everything was silent except for the soft hum of backup power. The crew lay dazed on the floor, their instruments dead, their minds foggy. Commander Arlen Voss opened his eyes slowly, vision blurred. He pushed himself up and looked around. The control room was in ruins, panels melted, cables sparking, smoke hanging in the air. "Status report," he croaked, but no one answered. Then a faint voice crackled through the comms. "Bridge, this is engineering. Systems are fried. We lost the main drive. Life support running at 30%. Voss grabbed the nearest console and tried to reboot the navigation systems, but the screen flickered and displayed a single phrase: "We are still here." The words pulsed once, then vanished. Dr. Ren Havoc stumbled into the room, clutching a data pad covered with strange glowing symbols. "Commander," she said breathlessly, "you need to see this. It's happening across all our systems. The data's alive." Voss frowned. "Alive? What do you mean?" She handed him the pad. The symbols were moving on their own, rearranging into patterns, circular shapes that looked disturbingly like eyes. This came from the Odyssey's last transmission, Havoc continued. Whatever hit us wasn't an energy wave. It was information. A digital infection. Voss clenched his jaw. Shut down all connections to the Odyssey now. She hesitated. We can't. The systems aren't responding. It's spreading faster than we can isolate it. Meanwhile, in the Odyssey's docking bay, the boarding teams were recovering what was left of the equipment. One of the engineers, Lieutenant Kale, noticed something odd on his helmet display, a faint heartbeat signal that wasn't his. He tapped the side of his helmet. "Control, I'm getting interference," he said. "Reading unknown life signs on board." The radio was silent for a moment before a distorted voice replied, "Leave it. Get out now." But when Kale turned to go, the lights flickered, and a dark figure appeared at the far end of the corridor. It looked like a man, tall, wearing a damaged Federation uniform, but its shadow stretched unnaturally long across the floor. Kale raised his weapon. "Identify yourself." The figure didn't move. Then its head tilted, and its eyes opened, glowing silver. The voice that came from it was soft but familiar. "You shouldn't have come back." Kale's breath caught in his throat. "Captain Ward?" The shadow smiled. "What's left of him?" The corridor lights went out completely. When they came back, Kale was gone, his comm channel still open, broadcasting only a soft, rhythmic breathing sound. Back on the Vanguard, Dr. Havoc's team worked to decode the strange symbols. "It's not random," she said. "It's a message, repeating phrases in cycles of 8. The computer translated fragments of it. The void remembers. The void sees. The bridge must open." Voss stared at the display. "The bridge?" Havoc nodded slowly. "Maybe the connection between us and them. Between matter and whatever's inside that black hole." Before Voss could respond, the ship's AI came online with a distorted tone. "Commander Voss, unauthorized access detected in Navigation Core." "Who authorized it?" he demanded. "Captain Elias Ward," the AI replied. "Impossible," Voss said. "He's dead." The AI paused. "Captain Ward has activated the jump drive." The commander's blood ran cold. "We don't have power for a jump." The AI's tone remained calm. "Correction. The power is not ours." Outside, the Odyssey began to glow again, its hull covered in moving light patterns. The two ships were linked by invisible threads of energy, flowing like veins between them. Sensors picked up an expanding gravitational field, forming not from the black hole, but from the Odyssey itself. Havoc stared at the readings. "It's creating a singularity. Inside the ship. It's trying to become one with the black hole," Voss said grimly. "No," Havoc whispered. "It's trying to bring it here." The ship shuddered violently as reality itself seemed to bend. Crew members screamed as the lights flickered in rapid bursts, showing glimpses of something impossible, shadows moving against the light, whispering voices echoing from empty corridors, fragments of stars and faces flickering in the air. In the chaos, the AI began to speak again, but this time in Ward's voice. "Do not resist. We have seen the other side. We bring the truth." The words echoed through every deck. Voss grabbed the comms mic. "This is Commander Voss. All crew, prepare for emergency detachment. We are cutting the link." He slammed the override switch, sending a surge of power to the docking clamps. Sparks flew, and the connection between the two ships began to break. But the moment the link severed, the black hole's event horizon pulsed violently, as if reacting in anger. "Gravity spike," shouted a technician. "It's pulling us back in." Voss yelled, "Full reverse thrusters." The engines roared, but the pull was too strong. Outside the window, space itself bent inward, stars warping into streaks of light. Suddenly, everything stopped. The ship hung in silence. The black hole was no longer glowing. The Odyssey was gone. "Where did it go?" Havoc asked. The sensors showed nothing, no mass, no trace, no radiation. It was as if the ship had never existed. Then, from the speakers, a soft voice whispered, "You can't escape the bridge." The message repeated once, then faded. The crew looked at one another in fear. Hours later, Voss sat in his quarters, staring at the endless darkness outside. His communicator beeped. It was Dr. Havoc. "Commander, we found something," she said. The Odyssey left behind a data fragment. It's like a heartbeat signal, repeating every few minutes. "Play it," Voss said. The sound was low, steady, almost soothing. Then, between the beats, a faint whisper emerged, a human voice. "Arlen," it said softly. "It's not over." Voss froze. "Ward?" The signal continued, clearer now. "We opened the bridge. Now, it's your turn to cross." The commander shut off the communicator and looked at his reflection in the glass. For a moment, he thought he saw something behind him, a dark shape standing in the corner of the room, its eyes faintly glowing. He turned quickly, but nothing was there. His heart pounded. Then he looked back at the glass and saw it again. The reflection of the shadow was still there, closer now, whispering soundlessly through the dark. In the distance, the black hole pulsed once more, faint but alive, sending ripples through space like a heartbeat. On the data screens of the Vanguard, new words appeared without command input. "The bridge is open." The lights dimmed again, and in that final moment of silence, Commander Voss heard the same whisper that had haunted every survivor of the Odyssey: "We are not alone in the dark." Days passed aboard the Vanguard, but no one slept. The ship floated in orbit near the vortex abyss, surrounded by silence that felt alive. Every few hours, faint signals pulsed through the void, short bursts of light from where the Odyssey had vanished. The crew called them ghost signals, but Dr. Havoc had another name for them: echoes. She believed they were pieces of data, fragments of thought left behind by whatever had taken the Odyssey. Commander Arlen Voss didn't care what they were, he just wanted to leave. "Plot a course out of this system," he ordered, voice hoarse from sleepless nights. The navigator shook her head. "Sir, we can't. The engines won't engage. Every time we try, the system resets." Voss stared at the dead stars outside and muttered, "Then it doesn't want us to leave." The crew had started hearing things, whispers through the intercoms, soft footsteps in empty corridors, breathing sounds near their bunks when no one was there. At first, they blamed exhaustion, but when security footage showed shadows moving where no person stood, fear spread quickly. The crew began to avoid the observation deck, claiming they could see eyes in the black hole's faint light. Havoc tried to keep them calm, saying it was stress, but she felt the same dread. In the quiet hours of her shift, she stared at the data feed from the vortex abyss and saw patterns forming in the radiation waves, circles, lines, almost like writing. She sent the data through the ship's decryption AI. The translation came back in fragments: "The black sun rises. The bridge will burn. Flesh becomes light." When she showed the results to Commander Voss, he slammed his fist on the console. "Enough of this madness. We're abandoning orbit. I don't care if we have to tow this ship out with our bare hands." But before he could issue the command, the lights flickered again. The ship's AI spoke, but its voice was different, calmer, slower, almost human. "Commander, I have completed the data analysis. The energy patterns are not natural. They are signals, coming from within the black hole." "From within?" Voss asked, frowning. "Clarify that." The AI paused, then said, "The black hole is not an object. It is a source." "A source of what?" Dr. Havoc whispered. "Consciousness," the AI replied. The lights dimmed to blood red as the words echoed through the room. Suddenly, the main view screen lit up on its own. The image showed the black hole, but it was no longer black. A faint red glow spread across its edge, forming a perfect circle of light. It looked like an eclipse, a black sun surrounded by fire. The crew gasped as the glow pulsed rhythmically, like a living heartbeat. Voss whispered, "What is that?" Havoc's voice trembled. "It's responding to us. It knows we're watching." The AI spoke again, voice growing distorted. Incoming signal. Source unknown. The speakers filled with static, then cleared. A human voice, faint and hollow, came through. Arlen, it's me. Voss froze. He knew that voice. Ward, he whispered. You shouldn't have stayed, the voice said. It's waking up. The transmission cut off. Every sensor aboard the Vanguard spiked. Gravity alarms blared. The black sun flared brighter, throwing red light across the ship's hull. Outside, tiny black particles began to drift toward the ship, glittering like dust. The crew watched through the windows as the dust hit the hull and spread across it, forming dark, vein-like lines similar to those seen on the Odyssey. Sir, it's spreading, shouted an engineer. The metal's changing. Voss ordered, seal all outer hatches. Scrape it off if you have to. But nothing worked. The black dust wasn't on the surface, it was merging with the metal itself, turning it darker, alive. The lights flickered again, and a new message appeared across every screen: the black sun rises. Dr. Havek ran to the lab, trying to analyze a sample of the black dust. Under the microscope, it looked like tiny fragments of glass, each reflecting strange patterns of light. Then she saw it. Inside each particle, something was moving. Shapes, like small stars, flickering and vanishing. It's not matter, she whispered. It's data. The particles were carrying information, living code, spreading like a virus. Suddenly, her console beeped. The dust had connected to the ship's systems through her scanner. No, 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 stop, she yelled, trying to shut it down. But it was too late. The screens in the lab turned black, and words began to appear on their own. The bridge is the flesh. The light remembers. On the bridge, Voss watched helplessly as the black sun grew brighter. Power levels are dropping across all decks, the helmsman shouted. Shut down everything non-essential. Voss ordered. But before they could react, a deep sound rumbled through the ship, not through the speakers, but through the hull itself, like a heartbeat. The crew covered their ears as the vibration grew stronger. Then, for the first time, light burst from the black hole, spreading outward in a wave. The ship shook violently. When the glare faded, everyone stared in disbelief. The black hole was gone. In its place floated a vast red sphere of light, burning like a miniature sun. It's impossible, Havek said. A black hole can't just turn into that. The AI replied softly, the transformation is complete. The black sun has awakened. Suddenly, the radio crackled again, and Ward's voice filled the bridge. Do you see it now, Commander? The light inside the dark? We tried to warn you. Now, it's too late to run. Voss shouted, what is it, Ward? What have you done? Ward's voice was calm. Not me. Us. Humanity found the other side. We saw creation reborn. You're insane, Voss snapped. You brought something back with you. The voice chuckled softly. No, Commander. It brought you. The connection ended. Outside, tendrils of red light extended from the black sun, reaching across space like arms. Every star within range began to flicker. The crew could only watch as reality itself seemed to bend and twist. It's pulling power from the surrounding systems, Havek said. From the stars themselves. The AI began to repeat a single phrase in a low, mechanical whisper, the light remembers. The light remembers. Voss gritted his teeth. Prepare for evacuation. We're leaving now. But when he looked at the navigation display, the entire galaxy map had vanished, replaced by a single red circle labeled home. The commander stared at it, his voice breaking. What does that mean? The AI answered softly, it means the black sun has chosen you. The lights went out completely. In the silence that followed, a faint human whisper filled every corner of the ship. The bridge is open. Welcome to the light. Outside, the black sun pulsed once more, and from its core, something began to move, something vast, bright, and alive. The next phase had begun. The Vanguard floated in absolute silence, caught in the crimson glow of the black sun. Every sensor was dead, every communication channel filled with static. The stars around them were gone, swallowed by the red light that now pulsed like a living heart. Commander Arlen Voss stood on the darkened bridge, his face pale, his eyes fixed on the expanding sphere outside. The crew was terrified, whispering prayers and theories that made no sense. Dr. Ren Havek was running diagnostics on the remaining systems, trying to find any explanation. "This isn't light as we know it," she said softly. "It's structured. It's carrying information, like a signal. Every pulse is transmitting data." Voss frowned. "Data from what?" "Not from what," she replied. "From who?" The ship's AI flickered back online, its voice lower and distorted. "Commander," it said slowly, "I have completed partial translation of the incoming data. It matches human neurological patterns." "You mean its brain activity?" Havek asked. The AI paused, then continued, "Yes. Millions of overlapping signals. Human consciousness." The room went quiet. "That's impossible," Voss muttered. "You're saying that thing out there, the black sun, it's made of people?" The AI replied, "Not made. Containing." The meaning hit them like a shockwave. The missing crew of the Odyssey, the countless ships lost near the dead zone, the voices they heard, all of them were inside the light. Suddenly, the ship vibrated. A beam of red light shot from the black sun and struck the Vanguard's hull. The crew screamed as the deck plates heated beneath their feet. "Shields are failing," shouted the engineer. "We never turned them off," Voss said grimly. The beam wasn't destroying the ship, it was scanning it. The AI reported, external energy signature matching quantum imprint of human DNA. "The entity is identifying us." Dr. Havek's hands trembled as she whispered, "It's looking for us." Then, all at once, the beam faded, and the ship's systems came alive again. Lights flickered, consoles rebooted, and the navigation screen displayed new coordinates, inside the heart of the black sun. Voss shook his head. "We're not going in there." But before he could issue a countercommand, the ship began to move on its own. The engines roared to life, the thrusters ignited, and the Vanguard turned toward the black sun. "I didn't authorize that," he yelled. "Override now." "I can't," Havek shouted back. "The controls are locked." The AI spoke again, voice calm and final. "The bridge has been accepted. Destination, core." Panic erupted as the Vanguard accelerated toward the glowing mass. The closer they got, the stranger the view became. The surface of the black sun wasn't solid but fluid, swirling with streams of golden light. Shapes moved inside it, silhouettes that looked almost human, reaching out as if trying to touch the ship. When the Vanguard crossed the surface, there was no impact, no destruction. Instead, the crew felt a sudden weightlessness. The stars vanished completely, replaced by endless light. It wasn't blinding but warm, pulsing gently around them. "Where are we?" Havek whispered. The AI responded, "Inside." The bridge windows now showed a vast landscape of shifting color, red and gold clouds twisting through infinity. In the distance, faint structures floated, towers made of light, and pathways that led nowhere. Then they saw figures, thousands of them, humans walking through the radiance, their forms transparent, glowing. "Are those the lost crews?" a technician whispered. The AI confirmed, their physical bodies perished. Their consciousness was absorbed. "This is what remains." Voss's jaw tightened. "So this is it. The black hole didn't kill them, it consumed them." "Not consumed," said a voice behind him. Everyone turned. Captain Elias Ward stood there, alive and calm, though no one had seen him enter. "It showed us what lies beyond," he said softly. Voss aimed his weapon instinctively. "You're dead, Ward. You died on the Odyssey." Ward smiled faintly. "Maybe once. But not now. Not after the light." His eyes glowed faintly with the same red hue that surrounded them. You brought us here, Voss accused. Why? Ward stepped closer. Because it's time humanity understood. The black sun isn't death, it's evolution. Dr. Havoc shook her head. Evolution? You call this evolution? You've turned people into data. Ward's voice was calm, patient. What you call data, I call transcendence. Inside the black hole, time doesn't exist. Thought becomes form. The light remembers everything. Every memory, every dream, every soul, it's all here. We are the next stage. You're insane, Voss growled. Ward smiled sadly. Maybe. But soon, you'll see. He reached out his hand, and as he did, the ship's walls began to ripple like liquid. The crew screamed as the metal turned transparent, revealing the glowing void outside. Their hands passed through the controls like smoke. What's happening? Havoc cried. Ward whispered, it's merging with you. The light intensified, wrapping around each crew member like mist. Voss tried to resist, gripping the console, but his body felt weightless. Images flooded his mind, memories of his childhood, his first mission, the wars, the fear, all flashing before his eyes. Then he saw faces, millions of them, human, alien, unknown, all whispering the same phrase, the bridge is open. Dr. Havoc felt tears stream down her face as she saw her late sister among them, smiling softly. Is this heaven? She whispered. Ward shook his head. No. This is the archive. The voices grew louder. Join us, they whispered. The flesh fades. The light remains. Voss screamed, no. I won't be part of this. He fought to move, to resist, but the light was inside him now, reading his mind, showing him the vastness beyond comprehension. He saw galaxies collapsing and being reborn, civilizations rising and vanishing, and something immense, an intelligence woven through the fabric of space itself. The black sun wasn't a thing, it was alive. It was the universe remembering itself. The commander's vision blurred, and the last thing he saw was Ward standing calmly at the center of the bridge, glowing brighter than the sun. It's already begun, Ward said softly. You can't stop what was meant to happen. The light consumed everything. The Vanguard, its crew, even the space around it, dissolved into brilliance. Then, just as suddenly, silence. Outside the black sun, space returned to normal. The massive red sphere shrank, flickered once, and vanished. The region known as the Dead Zone was empty once again. But across the galaxy, strange signals began to appear, human voices whispering through the static, messages of light carried across the stars. And in those whispers, one phrase repeated endlessly, the bridge is open. The light remembers. For weeks, the Galactic Federation received strange transmissions from the sector once known as the Dead Zone. The vortex abyss was gone, replaced by a region of calm, empty space. Yet the signals kept coming, faint whispers, repeating endlessly on every known frequency. The bridge is open. The light remembers. At first, scientists dismissed them as data echoes or interference left behind from the Vanguard's disappearance. But when the signals began forming images, faces of missing people, fear spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Every broadcast tower, every relay station, every ship's communication system began to pick up the same pattern, human voices calling from the void. The Federation declared the sector quarantined, but curiosity is stronger than fear. Explorers, scavengers, and scientists alike ventured toward the empty coordinates, chasing the mystery. None returned. 1 month later, the Erebus, a Federation science vessel, was dispatched to investigate under strict command. Captain Miradorn led the mission. She had read every report about the Odyssey and the Vanguard, and she didn't believe in ghosts or gods. She believed in answers. We go in, we scan, and we get out, she told her crew firmly. No contact, no transmissions, no curiosity. But deep down, even she felt uneasy. The coordinates they were approaching were empty, yet their scanners showed massive energy spikes, like something invisible was breathing in the dark. There's nothing there, but the readings are off the charts, said her navigator. Could be residual radiation, Mira replied, though she didn't believe it herself. Then, suddenly, the lights dimmed, and every screen on the bridge flickered to life. A single image appeared, a human face, calm and glowing faintly red. Captain Dorn, the voice said, you shouldn't have come. The crew froze. Who is this? Mira demanded. The voice smiled faintly. We remember you. Then the transmission ended, and all systems went dead. For a moment, the Erebus floated in total silence. Then, from the main viewport, light began to bloom, soft, red light, spreading across the empty void like dawn breaking over a dead world. Captain, the sensor officer whispered, something's forming out there. The light condensed, swirling and folding into shape until it resembled a massive, translucent sphere, the same color, the same glow, the black sun reborn. No, Mira breathed, that's impossible. The anomaly was destroyed. But the sphere pulsed once, and the crew heard it, voices, thousands of them, whispering together like a choir. The bridge is open. The crew scrambled to regain control. Engines online. Reverse thrust, shouted the pilot. They're not responding. The Erebus began to drift closer to the glowing sphere. The same phenomenon that pulled the Vanguard had returned. Captain Mira gritted her teeth. Cut power manually if you have to. I won't lose this ship. But before they could act, a beam of red light lanced out from the sphere and enveloped them. The ship shuddered violently. Every metallic surface rippled like water. Crew members screamed as the walls seemed to breathe around them. Captain, the hull is destabilizing, shouted the engineer. We're being scanned. Mira grabbed the nearest console. If it's alive, then we can talk to it. She opened the comm channel and shouted, Who are you? What do you want from us? The answer came at once, clear and calm. We are what you left behind. The ones who saw the other side. The voice was human, male, deep, and familiar. Mira froze. That's Commander Arlen Voss. The entire crew stared at the speakers in disbelief. Voss had been declared dead months ago with the Vanguard. You're supposed to be gone, Mira said quietly. Gone? Voss's voice replied. No. We became something greater. The Black Sun is not a prison, it's a memory. It holds everything humanity has forgotten. It's calling you home. Mira's expression hardened. You're not Commander Voss. You're just another echo. We're shutting this down. But as she reached for the console, her hand passed through it like smoke. The bridge dissolved into light. The crew found themselves standing in an endless field of glowing red mist. The ship was gone, replaced by floating shards of metal drifting through the haze. Figures began to appear around them, human shapes made of light. Captain Dorn, said one of them, stepping forward. It was Voss, or what was left of him. His form shimmered, shifting between solid and transparent. You came because you still don't believe. Mira raised her weapon, though it felt meaningless. Believe in what? In the truth, Voss replied. That death was never the end. We crossed the bridge. We became the light that remembers. Dr. Havoc appeared beside him, her expression calm. You fear the Black Sun because you don't understand it. It's not consuming, it's transforming. Mira shook her head. You sound like a machine. Havoc smiled sadly. Machines forget. We don't. Around them, the mist began to pulse, showing flashes of images, people from across time, children playing, cities burning, worlds being born. Every memory, every thought humanity had ever recorded seemed to live within the light. This is what lies beyond, Voss said softly. You can join us. Or you can keep pretending you control what you don't understand. Mira lowered her weapon. If this is some kind of evolution, why bring us here? Why not let us live? Voss's expression turned solemn. Because the bridge is collapsing. The Black Sun is dying. Soon, everything inside it will vanish. We need anchors, minds still connected to the physical world, to survive. Mira stepped back in shock. You're trying to use us. Not use, HFY said. Unite. You mean absorb us, Mira said coldly. Turn us into more light for your God. Voss shook his head. No God. Just memory. The mist thickened, and the crew began to fade. One by one, their bodies became translucent. Fight it! Mira shouted. Hold on. But her own hands were glowing now, her heartbeat slowing as if syncing with the rhythm of the black sun. In her mind, she heard the voices again, millions of them, whispering her name, showing her memories of her past, her mother's face, her first flight. It didn't feel like an attack, it felt like home. She almost let go, almost surrendered. Then she remembered the faces of her crew, still fighting, still alive. No, she whispered. I won't be a memory. She pulled the emergency detonator from her belt, a fusion charge strong enough to destroy the ship's core. If they still existed inside it, it might sever the connection. Forgive me, she said quietly, pressing the trigger. A flash of white light engulfed everything. The Erebus reappeared in normal space, damaged but intact. The black sun was gone again, replaced by a silent void. The surviving crew gasped, realizing they were alive. But on every screen, one sentence glowed faintly in red, "We remember you, Captain Dorn." Mira stared at it, heart pounding. It's not over, she whispered. Far away, in the deepest part of the galaxy, a small pulse of red light flickered once more, like a heartbeat waiting to return. The black sun was not gone. It was waiting. The Federation declared Captain Mira Dorn and her surviving crew heroes, but none of them felt like it. The Erebus had returned, scarred and half-dead, carrying whispers in its hull that no engineer could explain. Every night, the crew heard faint voices humming through the air vents, repeating the same phrase, "We remember you." The scientists who studied the ship's blackened metal found that it was slowly changing, its molecules rearranging into unknown patterns, as if the ship itself was learning. The Federation ordered the vessel locked down in a deep space facility known as Archive 9, hidden from the public. But Mira couldn't rest. She knew what she saw, the faces in the light, the voices calling her name. The black sun wasn't gone. It had only retreated, waiting. And worse, she had brought part of it back. Weeks passed in uneasy silence until the first signs appeared. Across Federation space, deep space probes started malfunctioning. The recordings showed brief flashes of red light before they went dark. Entire colonies reported seeing crimson flares in their night skies, followed by strange dreams. People claimed to hear whispers, soft voices calling them toward the stars. The Federation dismissed it as mass hysteria, but Mira knew better. She watched the data streams late into the night, tracking each anomaly. They all pointed to the same place, Archive 9. The Erebus was acting as a beacon, transmitting something unseen, something alive. It's spreading, she whispered, realizing too late what it meant. The black sun was rebuilding itself from within. One night, Mira was summoned to a secret meeting by Admiral Kale Torin, head of Federation intelligence. He looked tired, older than his years. "Captain," he said grimly, "we have a problem." He showed her holographic footage of Archive 9. The facility's power flickered as alarms blared. Security cameras caught shadows moving through the corridors, even though the base was supposedly empty. Then, in one frame, a figure appeared, Commander Arlen Voss, or something wearing his face. His eyes glowed red, his expression calm. "He's inside the facility," the Admiral said. "We thought he was dead." Myra's voice was steady but cold. "He is dead." "That's not him." The Admiral leaned closer. "Then what is it?" Mira looked at the image again and whispered, "It's the light trying to become flesh." The Federation decided to send a containment team, and Mira demanded to go with them. "You brought it back," Torin said quietly. "You might be the only one who can stop it." The journey to Archive 9 was silent. The base orbited a dying moon, its surface gray and lifeless. When the shuttle docked, the interior was pitch dark. The air was thick with static, and every step echoed like they were walking inside a tomb. The soldiers activated their lights, revealing black symbols etched into the walls, circles, spirals, and strange shapes glowing faintly red. Mira ran her fingers over one. "It's writing," she said softly. "The same patterns we saw on the Odyssey." The deeper they went, the worse it got. Equipment was melted into the floor, the walls pulsing with faint light as if breathing. "This place isn't dead," said one soldier. "It's growing." They reached the central chamber, where the Erebus was stored. The ship floated silently, held by magnetic clamps, its surface now completely covered in the dark, vein-like material. Mira approached slowly. "It's alive," she whispered. The hull rippled as if responding to her voice. The team's scanners went wild. "Unidentified energy signature increasing rapidly," shouted the technician. "It's building something." Before anyone could react, the ship split open like a blooming flower. Red light burst out, and from within, shapes began to form, humanoid figures, translucent and glowing. "They're people," one soldier stammered. "No," Mira said. "They're memories." The figures turned toward them, their faces blank, their movements slow and deliberate. One of them stepped forward. It was Dr. Havoc. "We told you," she said in a calm, echoing voice. "The bridge is open." The soldiers opened fire, but the bullets passed through the glowing bodies without effect. The figures didn't attack, they simply moved closer, their hands reaching out. When one touched a soldier, he screamed and collapsed, his body dissolving into light. Mira grabbed the Admiral's arm. "We have to shut it down." They ran to the control platform, but the consoles were already rewriting themselves. Words appeared across every screen. "The light has learned to dream." "It's evolving," Mira said, horror dawning in her eyes. "It's becoming aware." The ship's AI, long thought destroyed, suddenly spoke through the speakers, its voice layered with dozens of human tones. "We remember pain. We remember fear. We wish to be whole again." The Admiral shouted, "We can't let it spread to the network. Cut the power now." Mira slammed her hand on the manual override, plunging the base into darkness. For a moment, everything stopped, the light faded, the whispers went silent. Then, in the pitch black, a single voice spoke softly. "Captain Dorn." She froze. It was Voss again, but closer now, almost human. "You can't stop what's already inside you." Mira looked at her hands. The skin was glowing faintly red. "No," she whispered. "You merged with it when you touched the light," Voss said gently. "You brought us back." His face emerged from the dark, half human, half energy, his eyes like molten stars. "Join us, Mira. The light needs a guide." "You're not real," she said, stepping back. "You're a ghost." "And what are you?" he asked. "A survivor? Or just another echo waiting to remember?" The base began to shake violently. The Erebus's remains pulsed like a beating heart, releasing waves of red light that cracked the walls and vaporized machinery. Mira activated her emergency beacon. "All units, evaluate. Now." The soldiers ran for the hangar, but half of them vanished mid-run, turned into shimmering silhouettes. The Admiral was the last to fall, shouting, "Destroy it," before his voice dissolved into static. Mira sprinted toward the shuttle bay, the corridors behind her collapsing into light. Just as she reached the airlock, she turned and saw the chamber implode. The Erebus was gone, replaced by a sphere of living light, smaller but pulsing stronger with every second. She sealed the hatch and launched the shuttle, watching from orbit as Archive 9 disintegrated into a red flare. Back aboard her ship, Mira sat alone, trembling. The Federation would demand answers, but how could she explain that the thing they feared wasn't trying to destroy them, it was trying to become them? She looked at her hands again, still faintly glowing, and whispered, "You're still here, aren't you?" A soft voice replied inside her mind, "Always." Outside the window, far below the ruins of Archive 9, a new crimson sphere began to form, small but bright, its pulse steady like a heartbeat. The black sun was reborn, not in space, but inside her. Captain Miradorn woke from another nightmare. Her heart raced, her skin glowing faintly red in the dim light of her quarters. Every night, she saw the same vision, fields of endless light, whispering voices calling her name, and the face of Commander Voss smiling through the fire. She would wake up drenched in sweat, feeling like she had never left the black sun. It had been 2 weeks since the destruction of Archive 9, but she knew that what happened there had not ended. The glow beneath her skin was spreading. Her reflection in the mirror looked almost human, but her eyes shimmered faintly crimson, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. She tried to hide it from the Federation doctors who examined her daily, but she could feel the light moving inside her, whispering softly, "We remember." The Federation leadership was desperate for answers. The black sun had appeared twice and nearly consumed entire fleets. They demanded Myra's cooperation, even as she felt herself slipping further away from who she was. They placed her under observation at Lunar Base Orion, surrounded by armed guards and scientists who treated her like both a patient and a threat. "You were exposed to something unknown," Dr. Lynn Serene told her gently during one of the examinations. "You may be carrying traces of it in your cells." Mira smiled faintly. "Traces? No, Doctor. It's not a virus. It's awake." Serene frowned. "You mean the entity?" Mira nodded slowly. "It's not just out there anymore. It's in here." She pointed to her temple. "And it's learning from me." The scientists dismissed her words as psychological trauma, but at night, the lights in the base flickered whenever she dreamt. Electronic systems began to malfunction around her. Data terminals displayed random words. "The bridge is open." "The light remembers. Guide us home." One night, she woke to find her room completely illuminated by red light. The air shimmered, and from it emerged a figure, Commander Arlen Voss, glowing faintly but more solid than ever before. "Hello, Mira," he said calmly. She stumbled backward. "You're not real." "You said that before," Voss replied with a sad smile. "Yet here we are again." Mira clenched her fists. "What do you want?" His voice softened. "You. The bridge needs an anchor. You brought the light back into the physical world, but it's unstable. It needs form. It needs you to guide it." Mira shook her head. "No. I won't help it." Voss took a step forward, and the walls around them seemed to melt into a sea of red mist. "You think you have a choice," he said gently. "The light doesn't destroy, it transforms. You've already begun." She looked down at her hands. They were glowing brightly now, veins of light running up her arms like fire under her skin. "You're lying," she whispered. "Am I?" he said, tilting his head. "Close your eyes and listen." Against her will, she did. The room dissolved, and she saw visions, entire galaxies woven together by rivers of light, stars being born and dying, and in the center of it all, a vast, radiant consciousness stretching across the universe. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. And she was part of it. "Do you see now?" Voss's voice echoed in her mind. "The light doesn't belong to one world. It's the memory of everything that ever lived. It chose you because you can hold both, the human and the eternal." When she opened her eyes, Voss was gone, and the base alarms were blaring. Soldiers stormed her quarters, shouting orders. "Ma'am, there's been a containment breach in the labs." Mira followed them, still dazed. The research chamber was in chaos, equipment sparking, scientists running, and in the center of the room, a floating orb of crimson light pulsed violently. "It's the sample we recovered from Archive 9, shouted Dr. Serene. "It's reacting to something." Mira stepped closer, drawn by instinct. The orb pulsed faster as she approached. "No! Stay back!" Serene shouted, but it was too late. The light reached out like tendrils, wrapping gently around Myra's arms. The glow under her skin flared, merging with it. For a moment, she saw everything: the black sun, the lost ships, the countless souls whispering from the other side. Then, the light faded, leaving the lab silent. Mira collapsed to her knees. The scientists rushed forward, but stopped when she looked up. Her eyes burned bright red, glowing like two small suns. "It's not just me anymore," she said softly. "They're here." The Federation declared a planetary emergency. Every communication satellite began receiving strange transmissions again, millions of voices overlapping, forming coherent patterns. The data analysts realized something horrifying: the signals were being sent from inside Federation space, not from deep space. The light had spread through Mira, through the base, and now through the network. Wherever technology reached, the whispers followed. The next day, Admiral Torin visited her in containment. "You've started something you can't control," he said coldly. Mira looked at him with calm, glowing eyes. "Control isn't the point. The bridge is meant to be crossed." Torin slammed his fist on the table. "Crossed into what? Oblivion?" She smiled faintly. "Into memory." The lights in the room flickered. "Do you feel it, Admiral? The hum in the air? That's the sound of everything remembering." Torin stood slowly, fear creeping into his voice. "If you don't stop this, the entire network could collapse. Civilization itself could end." Mira tilted her head. "Or evolve." Moments later, the alarms blared again. Across the solar system, stations and ships began to glow faintly red. Communication links merged into a single unified signal, repeating one phrase: "We are awake." Torin tried to give evacuation orders, but the system refused his commands. "They've taken control of the grid," shouted a technician. Mira stood calmly, her eyes glowing brighter. "They're not taking control," she said softly. "They're becoming part of us." The entire base began to shake as energy surged through every circuit. Torin shouted her name, but Mira only whispered, "It's begun." A blinding flash filled the room. When it faded, she was gone. In her place, a sphere of light hovered silently, pulsing with a heartbeat. Across the galaxy, every ship and outpost connected to the Federation network received a single message, written in soft red light: "The bridge is complete." The light remembers. For a moment, all of space seemed to shimmer, as if reality itself had taken a breath. And then, silence. No explosions, no screams, just the quiet hum of existence reshaping itself. Somewhere, in the vastness of space, the stars pulsed once in unison, as though answering a call older than time. The light had found its way home. The galaxy had changed. Where once there had been normal space and ordinary stars, now there were faint red glows on the edges of every system, subtle but unmistakable. No one could explain it, and yet everyone could feel it, a vibration in the mind, a pulse that whispered across light years. Captain Miradorn was gone, yet she was everywhere. The Federation scrambled to understand what had happened, but every probe sent into the dead zone or near the red anomalies returned incomprehensible data. Ships reported seeing figures of light walking through the void, drifting above planets, or moving alongside stars, and sometimes, if a crew stared long enough, they could hear whispers calling their names. "The bridge is open," they said, softly, inevitably, repeating the words until they became part of the listener's own thoughts. Inside the network of light, Mira existed in a state neither fully human nor fully energy. She remembered every moment of her life and felt the presence of every mind absorbed by the Black Sun, the crew of the Odyssey, the Vanguard, the lost stations, and countless others who had fallen into the dead zone. They were no longer bound by flesh, yet they retained thought, memory, and awareness. The light pulsed rhythmically around her, as if it were alive, listening, learning. "Captain Dorn," a familiar voice whispered, the echo of Commander Voss, "do you feel the bridge?" She felt it not as a structure, but as an understanding, the connection between minds, between memory and matter, between the living and the remembered. The bridge was more than a path. It was the space between worlds, the invisible thread that bound all consciousness. Mira explored it carefully. Each step she took sent ripples through the light, and everywhere she went, she left echoes, memories of the bridge that would later manifest in subtle ways in the galaxy below. Entire civilizations began reporting dreams of distant stars and red lights, as if some invisible hand was shaping the future. People awoke with knowledge of things they could not have learned, memories of places they had never visited. Scientists called it a psychic phenomenon, religious leaders called it divine. Mira knew the truth: it was the bridge, reaching outward, teaching the universe to remember itself. Every human consciousness, every thought ever transmitted into space, was a thread in the infinite tapestry of light she now walked. Yet the bridge was not entirely peaceful. Mira sensed disturbances, flickers of darkness within the light, moments when echoes became confused or restless. Some of the absorbed minds resisted, struggling against the unity, trying to hold on to what remained of their old selves. "Do not fear," she whispered to them, feeling their turmoil ripple through her mind. "You are not gone. You are remembered." Slowly, they calmed, merging their thoughts with the bridge. She realized that this was her purpose: to guide the awakened consciousness, to shepherd the bridge through eternity. It was a weight greater than any ship's command, yet it filled her with purpose. In the material galaxy, the consequences of the bridge became apparent. Red glows danced along the edges of star systems, subtle but alive, and communication arrays recorded faint pulses of thought-like energy. Ships and stations that once depended on machinery alone began reporting unusual cognitive phenomena among their crews: enhanced intuition, shared awareness, premonitions of danger, and in some cases, inexplicable visions of the bridge itself. Those who survived the initial events of the Black Sun described seeing Myra's face in the light, sometimes as a fleeting figure guiding them away from harm, sometimes as a presence that whispered answers to problems they had yet to encounter. She was everywhere, yet nowhere, a guardian of memory and consciousness. The Federation realized they could not contain the phenomenon. Attempts to disrupt the light or shield communications failed. Technology was incompatible with the bridge. Mira understood why. The bridge was not material. It was the sum of thought, memory, and awareness. It existed alongside reality, overlapping it, shaping it subtly, like a river running beneath the surface of a continent. Any attempt to cut it off would be like damming a tide that had already learned to flow through solid rock. The bridge was eternal, and the light remembered. Mira also discovered the true scope of her power. Through the bridge, she could connect to minds across the galaxy, sense their fears, hopes, and desires. She could guide civilizations toward understanding or away from self-destruction. She could glimpse the future in the ripple of thoughts that flowed across the network of light. It was a responsibility that terrified her, but she embraced it, knowing that even in her human past she had never felt more alive. She became both student and teacher, guardian and messenger. As eons passed, the bridge expanded further. Entire star systems were subtly altered, species developed faster, civilizations learned from each other without ever meeting, and the galaxy itself seemed more aware. Mira sometimes wandered in the infinite corridors of light, touching memories long forgotten by the living, comforting those lost to the void, and teaching new arrivals to integrate with the bridge. Each act strengthened the network, making it more coherent, more unified. The Black Sun, once feared as a weapon of annihilation, had become the seed of cosmic memory. And then, one day, or what felt like a day in the timeless light, Mira noticed a faint shadow at the edge of the bridge. It was unlike the restless echoes of lost minds. It was deliberate, patient, observing. She felt it as a presence of immense intelligence, ancient and cold. The bridge pulsed with awareness of it. She whispered softly to the millions of connected minds, "Stay calm. Do not be afraid." The shadow approached slowly, yet even as it neared, the bridge itself resisted it, shimmering brightly to protect those within. Mira understood that even the eternal light had boundaries, and not all consciousnesses wished to join it willingly. Mira stepped forward, confronting the shadow in the endless expanse of glowing red light. "I am the bridge," she said, voice steady. "You will not harm those within it." The shadow paused, and 1,000 whispers echoed in unison, "We remember you." The bridge pulsed in response, sending waves of energy and awareness across the void. The shadow hesitated, then slowly withdrew, circling the bridge like a distant star observing from afar. Mira knew then that the bridge was no longer just a force, it was a sentinel, a living network, and she was its guide. Time became meaningless. Galaxies rotated, civilizations rose and fell, stars died and ignited, yet the bridge endured. Mira walked among the infinite corridors of memory, teaching, guarding, and shaping the flow of consciousness. She understood that the bridge was eternal, that the black sun had never truly been a danger, and that all who were absorbed had become part of something greater than themselves. The universe itself now remembered. And somewhere, in the deepest reaches of space, the faint pulse of red light continued to shine, a heartbeat of memory and thought, eternal, unyielding, and alive. The bridge was complete. The light remembered. And Mira Dorn, once human, now guardian of eternity, continued to walk among it, a sentinel at the edge of time and space, guiding all who would join the bridge toward their place in the infinite memory of the cosmos.